Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. And today we are going to be painting a easy landscape pond. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to go ahead and take some of ultramarine blue, and I am using the Montval Canson watercolor paper, and I'm using Danielle Smith's paints, but you can use whatever brand you have. That's really not gonna matter. So we're gonna begin. I wanna make sure I have enough mix. We're gonna do a pretty easy blue sky. And we're going to begin by filling this in. And today I will show you an easy way to do some clouds. But you're going to start at the top and bringing it down. I'm going to go about halfway or so, trying to still leave a little bit of a bead here at the bottom. And we're just gonna bring it on down to the line. I lightly sketched this out, but you'll be able to see. I just wanted to have somewhat of an idea. And I have to admit, this paper, you have to be pretty quick because I've noticed that it will, because it's not 100% cotton, it will cauliflower. It's not bad paper, but you do have to move relatively quickly. That's the only thing that I'm not digging about it. But overall, it's not a bad paper and it's quite affordable. So it will, I think, be better for gouache. So making sure this is wet. And then what I want to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this Andanthrone blue. It's like a dark blue. If you have indigo, that would work. Get it a little darker because I want a little bit darker here at the top. And then I'm gonna go ahead and blend it down. And when we get to do I wanted it darker because this way when we go to do the clouds, there's really gonna pop. Not to say that the sky is always lighter in the bottom, so you just kind of want to make sure you blend it down. And it's not gonna look so dark once it dries. But Andanthrone is a really pretty dark, warm blue. And, okay. So, now what we're going to do is taking a thirsty brush. We're going to go ahead and put some clouds in. And what a thirsty brush is, you're going to want to make sure it's rinsed really well. And then I like to dab it off on the paper towel. And what I do is I hit kind of at the barrel, because what we're gonna do is I might have to let this dry just for a second, and we'll be able to, it's all about the timing. But what I want to do is I'm gonna make some clouds. So kind of to twist in the brush. we're gonna get some puffy clouds. And you can do it with a paper towel, and it's a little quicker, but I think this is a little bit more time consuming. But I think the effect looks a little better. Now, this paper, you kind of got to be careful, because I do find that it can damage the paper a little. But basically, we're just practicing. And then the further down you go, you want the clouds to get smaller, because that's going to show a little bit of perspective. And my clouds aren't perfect, as you can see. They don't need to be, because there is no perfect clouds. And this paper is not the most fun to work with always. If you can afford 100% cotton, that's a little bit more ideal. But I had this sketchbook, and I wanted to try it out and see how it does. And I think as long as you're not doing a lot of wet on wet, it's not really that bad. But it's not giving me the puffiness of the clouds that I would like. But that's okay. We're just kind of moving on. So now I'm just kind of, I want to get a little smaller cloud here. And I am using, I forgot to say at the beginning, a size 8 Princeton Elite round. I really like the Princeton series. The Elite is a really good brand of it. So, or the style is imitates the Kolinsky. So, moving on. I say that's pretty good for our clouds, but as you can see with the removal, it's kind of leaving a little bit of damaging the paper, basically. So keep that in mind, that this is not the best paper for this procedure. So we're going to go ahead, and I want to put in some of the background trees. And we're going to take this mixture, and we're going to add a little bit of this quinacridone gold. And just bringing in the blue to about the shade we want. And if we want it a little darker, we can go ahead and take some of this ultramarine. Because they're in a distance, so I want them on the cooler side, which to make it cooler, you want it to be a little bit more blue. And while this is still slightly damp, and it may cauliflower, but if it does, it'll give it almost a cool effect. But we're just going to go ahead and put in some distance trees. And having the paint a little bit thicker, which means less water, more paint. we're just gonna put it in here. Trying not to think about a pattern, just slowly put it in. And I'm just kind of like stenciling it, kind of like just kind of dabbing it. Making it a little higher on this side and going down. And then same thing with here. You just kind of want to make it look like a little distance woodland. Keeping it smaller towards the center. And then rising up. And that looks really nice. It just gives it an appearance of some distance trees. So now we're moving on to the middle ground. And we can start adding a little bit more of the yellow. And make up some more of our mixture. So we're going to add, life wouldn't be the same without a dog hair. So we're going to take some of this Queen Gold once again. It would help if it's a little wetter. You might want to activate your paints ahead of time. I'm terrible about not doing that. So we're going to mix in some of this blue. And now I'm starting to slightly warm it up. Slightly. We'll still add a little bit more of the blue. So for this back tree line, now we're going to call what's called dry brush. It's where the paper is dry, but we're going to go ahead and bringing it across. Okay, so what you see me do, sped up, was I just dried brushed some of this, the blues and some greens, and just trying to add some texture of the different colors. A little bit here, a little bit more blue here, a little bit more greenish blue there. But basically just trying to get, that's the good thing with watercolor, is transparent, so you can layer it. And that's what I'm trying to do. It's a pond, so it's going to reflect. It's more, the water is a little bit more calm. So it's going to add, it's going to have a lot more color in it than, like, say, like the ocean. Or, you know, a lake. So what we're trying to do, and then I'm leaving just slice bits of white to show a little bit of reflection. But I don't want too much. Just here and there. Just kind of tickling that in, which means just very ever so lightly on the edge. Okay, now we're going to let that dry. Okay, now that the paint's dry, we are going to go on to the next step. And I am going to take a small flat brush. It's not necessary. You can use a very small paintbrush. You can use a smaller watercolor brush. That's fine. But my hands shake and I just feel more comfortable with a smaller brush. But I'm going to take some burnt sienna and mixing it with a little bit of water. Get some more. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, I think I want to mix it with a little bit of this blue because I want it darker. And just by adding that little bit slight blue, you see how that just changes the color? So we got 3 shades right there. So for the bank, I would just want to make a thinner line. Just kind of dabbing it in. And it's going to just give us just a bank. And it don't have to be all the way through. I'm just trying to hit hints on this side, because this side you're not going to see it as well, but on this side and around the curve you would be able to see. So that just gives it a little bit of a bank. And then I feel back here needs a little bit more color, so I'm going to take some of this Queen Gold and I am going to mix it with some of this blue. I'm using some of the ultramarine, and it makes it like a sap green. And then I'm going to take a hint of this brown, and then I think I'm going to take some of this Goethite. I think that's how you say it. It's like a brown ochre. Okay. Take some of that. So now we're going to add in some of these earth tones. And making sure my brush isn't too wet. And now in the distance you don't want to warm it up too much, but I just want to add just slight hints of another color, so it's just not so solid one color. And I'm just kind of just using my intuition on where I want the colors at. And then I'm gonna and in some slightly darker bits. And you can see the distance that that's making is not all uniform. Just lightly taking some mixtures of colors and very slowly. You don't need to go fast on this. And working some of the other colors in around the bits. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and over here, just lightly glazing. I We're not doing the whole area because we want some light bits to pop in through there, like there. You know, that was a little happy accident. And making sure it's a little bit more bluish. And then just slightly going over. And look at the difference that that's making. Now I want to go ahead and add a little bit of that blue through here. And then hints of the brown, because it won't look right if you just put it in one area. And that is looking so much better because we have our underlayer, and then up front we'll be doing stuff a little slightly different. So still moving on with this darker color and I like using the dry brush effect for this. Taking some more of that blue, working it down because you don't want it too thick. And then just lightly glazing this on. Just letting it brush over the paper. And then I want a little darker on this ends too. And that just has given it such a different look. Keeping it very simple, but very easy at the same time. Now, kind of working around this bend, I'm just gonna do the same, add a little bit more of that color. But now, here's where it's going to start getting a little bit more fun. We're going to add the front details, some of the grasses and all that. So, the way I kind of like to do grasses is a mixture of different ways. I'm taking this clicker-free brush that I got from my local art store, and what I like about it is these are all rough and different textures. I don't use it for the calligraphy way, but I'm going to go ahead and wet it, and then I am going to dry off most of it, so it's going to look kind of messy, sprayed out, and that's what we want. But making sure you have enough water on here to move the paint. Now up front we want it a little bit warmer. We want it more of a springy color. So we're taking some more of that Quin Gold. Maybe some of that. Just kind of mixing these and then working the brush. I probably don't have it wet enough because you got to have it somewhat wet because you want to be able to move the paint. And there's my birds per usual. And if you look, it makes these lovely grasses. And I'm just flicking the brush up. Taking some more of that color. May have to mix some more. But making sure it's more on the lighter side. Going up. maybe add in some of the mixture of that Goethite. And just sweeping it up. Going back into some of this brown. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up some of this video. And it's just going to be a repetitive step. So we'll go ahead and speed it up now. Okay, so now that we got our grasses and we got a little hints in the back, I want to just slightly go over the lines that we made in the water so it just looks like a more of a reflection. And then I want to add a little bit more. To the front. And taking a little bit of the water for a little bit more of a mix, and we're going to just lightly going over it because you're still going to see the lines. And then that is it for our little pond. We'll let it dry and then we'll take the tape off for the big reveal. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and remove the tape. I'm going to remove the clips. Move my hair out of the way. It's always in the way. But this is my favorite part, is pulling the tape off. There is nothing so satisfying as removing the tape and seeing that clean edge. And look how beautiful that turned out. So if you like what you're seeing and you're looking forward to more of these watercolor tutorials, please like and subscribe so other people can see what my channel has to offer. Thanks so much. Look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye everybody.